And we are live. Welcome to Nilvah Nexus. Yay. Check us out at the Nilvah, N-I-L-V-A, the feminine word for Nilvah, at Facebook and the Nilvah Nexus here on Google+. I'm James the Idol Smasher at gmail.com. John and Rosalie are with me. John's getting his camcorder fixed together, and I've got a great story for you, y'all. This is just world news. We're going to open up the Hangout with some world news. This comes from ArabNews.com. The headline reads, Saudi Arabia becomes the first country to grant citizenship. That's right. In London, a humanoid robot took the stage at the Future Investment Initiative yesterday and had an amusing exchange with hosts to the delight of hundreds of delegates. Smartphones were held aloft as Sophia, designed by Hong Kong company Hanson Robotics, gave a presentation that demonstrated her capacity for human expression. And it's one of those Asian kind of robots you see walking around, and yes, it's more rights to the female-likened human robot than actual female humans. ArabNews.com, once again, Saudi Arabia becomes the first country to grant citizenship to a robot. Progress. As my friend Jim Scott would say, I hope he's watching.
That's funny.
I thought that you couldn't open a Hangout with better news. Okay, Mashiach coming. All right, Palestinians accept an Israeli state, and robot accepted into Saudi Arabia as a citizen. You just can't get better news than that here in the Nilvah Nexus. And that's the quality kind of programming you're going to get every Thursday night. Tonight's topic is Avraham. Our Parsha is Lech Lecha. And it's when God tells Moses to get up off his rump and go strive for something better, basically. I picked this Hangout because, yes, Avraham is a patriarch. Avraham is just the man. Okay, he's like the coolest dude to the world, not to Jewish people. This was a humanity thing on his part. Goyim were created with Babel. We get that with Babel. But now we get something better. Also, the reason why I wanted to bring up Avraham specifically, which just happens to go with the Parsha, just also happens to be with this notion of this Ger bunch that's come up on the scene. These are folks who went off and have pretty much done their own thing for the sake of heaven. They're Noahides or Ben Noach. They're still 7 law abiding folks, but we've had a letter recently written by some very square people. I mean square. In fact, I'm going to wear this now just because I do enjoy pissing off the squares. They drew a line this week, a few rabbis. We call them the Serious Six. Actually, there are 8 of them. I prefer to call them the 9 pieces of 8. Meh. Wrote a letter condemning a rabbi and his students. And I just happened to find myself on the Ger side of that line. So, now that we're all Ger now that it's been pretty much accepted now that there are such thing as Ger Toshav, no. Ger Tzedek, no, far from it. But, yeah, Deuteronomy 10, love the stranger, for you were strangers in Egypt. Well, I'm the stranger, I'm the oddball guy out, and I wear this as a dunce cap so that you know that that is not a Jew. Not a Jew. Not a Jew. Not a Jew. See? Get it? Get it? Get it? Okay. Oh, and by the way, I'm here to promote a book that, another thing to piss off the squares, which nobody brings up anymore, is this little book right here. No author on the title of this book. That's because Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik and many others here have contributed to this book, or contributed to it, have been faithfully translated, you know, by the rabbi. But he's getting a lot of flack lately. So here at the Nilvah Nexus, we are an all-inclusive bunch. That means that Jewish, Gerim, Noahide, Christian, and just plain guys from Wyoming can come and have a wonderful Torah talk with some good people for the sake of heaven, and all is right with the world. And I can't tell you how much I do look forward to these. Sometimes it feels like work, but you know, if it wasn't for a bunch of just folks getting, you know, hanging around and chatting about this sort of thing, it'd be a really dull life. John, how you doing this afternoon? How are things treating you? Or this evening? Shabbat Shalom. It's Friday. How are things in the Yid world?
Things are well. Not too bad. As everything.
See, here's John and I hang out, and we don't share a rabbi, and we can be friends. We've even disagreed before, and here we are. It's a beautiful thing. You know, all this fighting is, you got to admit, this Ger conversation that's going on, that's really the hip thing in the Jewish world. I mean, that's the big thing happening. That, you know, that's the almost Jerry Springer tabloidish thing to talk about now. That's the thing, you know. That's a beautiful thing. It really is. We've got people coming together. We've got, you know, the fact that you have this many non-Jews fighting tooth and nail over each other, all because of Torah. Yes, it can be seen as a negative thing. I see turning Ben Noach against Ben Noach is a bad thing, but in the end, I think it's a beautiful thing, and it's a good thing, and we're going to get through it. And this will be a flash in the pan. We have greater things ahead of us right now, and greater enemies to fight than each other. Fellow Noahites.
Sounds
fellow
good.
Goya.
Sounds good.
Right? Huh? Right? Yeah. See? It's a beautiful thing. What we do here is beautiful. What we're all doing is beautiful. We just need to realize it. Stop talking smack. Stop hating the other guy for being odd and different. Odd and different's not so bad. Avraham was odd and different. In fact, I think Avraham was more odd and different in his life than many others we will find in the Tanakh. He was odd and different to the point where he had to leave with his family and folks who would join him. He also had, he also was in Egypt and had to leave there again. I was a ger and a toshav, a stranger and a sojourner in this land. The man traveled, and the man was all about everybody else. He wasn't about himself. He wasn't about his tribe necessarily. His tent was open on all sides. Now, I had Doreen. Welcome, Rabbi. Welcome, Gav, dude. Awesome. Welcome back after the high holidays and a trip here to the other promised land. And I'm glad you're here. I'm talking to Avraham, and Doreen in group on Facebook was very she laid down the law almost. She
did
let
good.
Me know. She did? Okay. Well, I've never heard anybody else in Torah be referred to as God's friend. And Isaiah, he says, Avraham, my friend. And I can't find anybody else in Torah where God calls his friend. So when I made the statement that this was, and I'm speaking from an English, I reference in Hebrew to the best of my ability. I'm not great at Hebrew. I honestly thought that Avraham was the one man that God called friend. If you're an English reader, yeah, I think so. And if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. Shalom, Gad. Welcome back. You just waking up? Did you get your coffee? Hope so. It's early over there in the land of Israel. And Gab is hailing us from.
He's in Ohio.
Are you still in the States? Oh, there you are. Okay, well, welcome back to Promised Land, take two. The second. It's not a bad place. It's not that bad where we live. I can gripe about my government because it's mine. It's my government, but it's also my country. So welcome back to these shores, and may you return home as quickly as possible. Oh, so you're here for a while, so you can acclimatize to the time change and everything. Yeah. Well, love to you, love to the wife back home, taking care of the babies and the dog.
I was actually kind of rooting for Cleveland to win the World Series this year. I was rooting for them. They did good. They got like a 60-game winning streak or something.
Not so bad. They didn't do too bad at all. I'm torn because I got Houston because I'm a Texan, or I've spent most of my life, or half my life in Texas, and my childhood anyway. So I want to go for Houston. I mean, this is a record. They've never been on before. They never made it to the Super Bowl before. But yet I live in Oklahoma City now, and the Dodgers.
I think you should lose points for calling it a Super Bowl, to be honest with you.
Oh my God!
I'm laughing. It's the World Series.
That's
my opinion
rough.
means nothing. So I'm just going to shut up now. Okay.
No, that's all right. It's all right. To each his own, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So we got a Texan team in the World Series, but yet we have the Oklahoma City Dodgers, who are the AAA team of the Angeles Dodgers, and they actually named us after them. They hadn't been done too much in the major league, except back in my old hometown of Huntington, West Virginia, when they had the Huntington Cubs, which was the training team for the Chicago. So the Chicago Cubs. So I don't know who to root for, but Dodgers help better with my economy, so go Dodgers. But
Yeah, I
I'm
like
very
Dodgers.
happy.
I was gonna say that my second team would be the Dodgers. Dodgers ain't doing
Yeah.
too bad. I'm watching the second game, so hopefully no one will spoil it to me. And unfortunately, Houston tied it in the ninth inning, 3-3. So that's that. Welcome to the room, Brookie Lee. How you doing?
Thank you. How are you guys?
Houston's tied with the Dodgers in the ninth inning. 3 points. 3 runs.
That was last night's game. I haven't finished watching it, so.
Oh.
That was last night's game. Yeah, don't tell me how it ends.
Okay. All right.
You can tell me how Torah ends, but don't tell me how MLB ends.
Torah never ends. Alrighty. Well,
why don't Brookie Lee start us off with an insight to Torah for this week's Torah portion?
Brookie Lee, you are on the spot.
We have not looked at the Torah portion for this week.
What do you have to say about Avraham, the man, the legend, our friend and patriarch? What say you of Avraham?
I think he's a great example of the potential of Ger. At least I hope he is. Hold on, Bae. Because he was able to show Hashem how much he loved him, to the point that he was special. He meant something special to Hashem, and I think that's a hard thing to do. Yeah.
Beautiful. And nothing on the Torah portion. We're in Lekha, by the way, with Genesis 12. Genesis 12. It starts at Genesis 12. Rabbi, what are your thoughts on Avraham? If you were to give a thumbnail description for a guy on the street with a microphone and a camera, and he asks you, who is Avraham? Besides a patriarch, besides the patriarch, the first Hebrew, the first Jew, what would you say? Go. If you have a mic. He was one man who came to radically different conclusion than the rest of the world and stuck to it. Only one man. That's pretty groovy too. Yeah, he kind of left and did his own thing.
My insight is, I want to get the verse. I think. Oh well, it's the first. It's the verse. It's the first verse of the parsha. God said to Avraham, "Go forth, away from your own benefit, from your land, and from your birthplace of your father's house, to the land where I show you." So what's interesting, what I find interesting is, this always stuck to me, from your land and from your father's house. So a lot of people think that you are who you are because of genetics, right? Your father's house, right? Who you're bred as, and your land, who you are. It's your place in society, right? You're some people. You're born a poor schlep, right? You're born underclass, right? And that's who you stuck as, right? Or you're born, as a king, right? There's different, whatever. But here it starts off right at the doesn't mince words. It says right there, you're going to leave all that. I will bring you to where you have to go, and you will find it, right? I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I shall make your name great. And you'll be able to bless people. It continues to say, and then you'll be able to bless those who bless you. And, it's basically saying it's not what's the word, James? What am I looking for? It's not fixed. It's not permanent. It's not in a way preordained. You can circumvent the system in a way. You can sort of, sure, you might be put in, what I'm saying? You might be put in a position where, you're born as an underling from the class system. You're scummed, but you can somehow overcome it. You can somehow. That's what I take away from this.
Like Ruth.
Like Ruth.
There's another one.
Yeah.
Rosalie.
Yes.
Who is Avraham? Who is Avraham? Besides being the patriarch and the first Hebrew, the first Jew. How does Avraham affect?
No, I'm probably going to get this wrong. Isn't he the... Yeah. He's the father of both of the future messiahs. Joseph and the line of David.
There you go.
Learned that tonight in another class. That was pretty good. Yes.
It's true. Noah saved the world, but the world's salvation is via Avraham.
Yep. And Sarah.
His hospitality, the well of Beersheba, his tent open on all sides, north, south, east, and west. Ross and I were talking about this off the live portion, but for wayfarers, and planted, some say a great tree that would feed them, some say it was a whole orchard, and then there was an inn there, that it grew into a place, and it was there solely for the purpose of wayfarers. A rival king he gave lambs to. He made a rival king a shepherd. Nobody were shepherds back then. I mean, look at Egypt. They couldn't stand the fact that these Israelites would hoard their gods. Hospitality that really moves me, and it hasn't really stopped. It's been for many months, but the Torah portion begins with him, so I figured it'd be a good place to talk. It's his hospitality. It's the fact that he was there for the world. He was there for anybody who wanted to hear.
The father of the mitzvahs.
Yeah. It was there's a Christian phrase that you have for him who has ears to hear. That's Avraham. I don't think anybody realizes that over there, but that's Avraham. I mean, 3 men shows up and he blesses God immediately. He loved having people over. He was making meals for them. This wasn't just, oh, how you doing? You want some water? Where you headed? It was, come sit, let's have a meal. You know?
Yep.
This is an event.
He was keeping them there to tell them about God. He was the first evangelist for God. How's that?
Escorting? No, it's eating, drinking, and escorting. The 3 factions of hospitality. That's what he provided, and that's what he set up at the well of Beersheba. It's still called Beersheba today. And what a beautiful thing. If there's any message for the non-Jew, I think Avraham is a great example. I think everybody can sympathize with Avraham. I think we concentrate a lot, of course, on the Exodus. We concentrate a lot on arriving at Sinai and what do we do at Sinai and who gets what, and this, that, and the other. But the first Exodus is really Avraham. If you don't count Noah as an Exodus, that was a whole different thing. But it's still the same theme. But Avraham really led the first Exodus and did his own thing. Gab over here writes, he called Ha'iravi the one who dwells on the other side, or journeys in another direction. Yeah, I started off the promo for the hangout with the Declaration of Independence, the first few lines. In the course of human events, sometimes you have to go do your own thing. Sometimes you have to just break from the mainstream and go find your way. You know, Israel descends into Egypt, but then moves out eventually, sadly by force. You know, I think that's a lot of people's journey. And I think what lacks is that open tent or the light to direct people there. If we had that light, if we had that form of hospitality where, you know, I mean, a tent open to all sides in the wilderness. Anybody could have come by. Anybody. Any goy on the way to so-and-so and so-and-so. It was Beersheba was a great place for people to pass through. It was like, you know, like the 4 corners met there. And as far as trade and travel and whatnot. And Avraham was open to all of it. And I think that's a beautiful thing, something we overlook. And I think the Torah portion now, with what's going on in the Noahide world now, I think that, you know, we should maybe respect some folks who go do their own thing. You know, I'm wearing it now, and I'm you know, this is my label. Everyone calls me this. This is what I am now. Okay, I am a ger. I didn't draw the line. I tried to fiddle around it, mush around it. I'm a Ben Noach ger, Noahide ger. All these different. Okay, fine. I'm a ger. I'm one of them. Fine. Okay, I can handle that. I've become a lot worse in my life than ger by my opposition. But we should realize sometimes you got to go do your own thing. It's okay. It's okay. We're a big planet. There's a lot of us on here. If you want everybody to be uniform and everyone to wear the same white shirt with the same Noahide label badge, you're not getting it, man. Many nations. We can't all be the happy I'm a Noahide t-shirt wearing guy. We just can't do that. Not everybody can do that. Sometimes other things speak to us. Nothing's really spoken in the Noahide world. We've got Path of Righteous Gentile. We got a few rabbis throughout the years who have taken the time to, you know, talk to us and hold classes and plan lessons. And, you know, we're fortunate that, but sometimes, you know, something comes along. Rabbi Kat says something that's really great. And folks like us, you know, plebs, secondary humans, whatsoever, baboons, goy, we hear something like that and it sparks with us. It doesn't spark with us so we can pat ourselves on the chest and find a different name for ourselves because we just got to be different. No, it's, you know, this is all about God. This is all about where we are in the world, and we're doing the best we can. Rabbi Saba Chlorophene and Rabbi Katz write a great book, and everybody buys it. Everybody loves it. And suddenly we got Gary Yarmulkes going around, and people talking, and people sing Shabbat Shalom like they never had before. These non-Jewish goyim, these smelly, nasty people who eat pork and stuff. And they'll come to it with such earnest and honesty and dignity. For you look at them and say, okay, they got some chutzpah. They got this, they do that. But, this is all for the love of God. I think we forget that. If that's a problem, I'm sorry. If everyone thinks that we're stealing from Israel, I don't think anybody's stealing from Israel. I'm all for the convert. I am all for the convert. I'm not able to convert, but I will do everything I can to facilitate another person's conversion. If it's going to bring the world closer to Torah, closer to Israel, closer to God himself, the Holy of Holies, then I have an obligation. I don't have any other way to do it. That means more to me than anything. Hadassah is not here. She said recently I've heard of it. I've heard of it through rumor. I've heard of it here. I never met anybody who would be directly affected by it. But apparently there are some people out there who are against converts. That converts cannot marry into the tribe. Well, then what the hell's the point of getting snipped if you can't marry into the tribe? What the hell's the point if you can't marry in Israel? How can you call somebody I was very saddened to hear this. I hope she shows up and tells the story. And I've heard that from other people who converts aren't real Jews. They don't get to enter into the tribe. Like, I can understand Levites. I understand the Cohen. But
I love that video you placed it in the Nexus. Sweet. That was awesome.
Which video?
The one about talking about the women who went to the mikveh and were told to get out.
Yeah, and then I get a letter, and then yeah.
That was awesome.
I'm very shocked. I guess I stand with the converts now since I've got the label. Whatever. I'm a stranger and I'm part of the converts now because apparently some people think they can't marry, that they're not real Jews. And one of the people saying that, we find out, wasn't born a Jew either. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that just interesting? We have a guy saying that anybody who converts isn't a real Jew or goes by that school of thought, hates this word right here, hates people like me, has come out and said it. I've heard threats. I've heard goofy stuff. I'm not going to say his name. Turns out he wasn't born Jewish. I think that's funny as hell, but call me crazy. But that's one very small, very insignificant community. What you're describing is what's called Syrian Takana. Okay, the Syrian community does not perform conversions and will not allow converts from outside the Syrian community to marry them. Okay, you're talking Jews, correct? So the Syrian community would not allow, say, an Israeli Jew born in Israel goes to yeshiva because they're not Syrian. Wow. Yes, he says. Wow. That's he said. Oh, okay, they will. They'll let born Jews marry into them, but never converts. Huh. I've had a few people in my time tell me that if you want to become Jewish, you better be prepared to raise a Jewish family. If you're not willing to be Jewish, don't bother. Stay in Noahide, whatever. Wow, that's kind of crazy. He says, in order to marry into the Syrian community, you need to show that there are no converts in your family going back 3 generations. Wow. Okay. Okay, all right, okay. Well, okay.
James, it's not surprising. I mean, a lot of the sources that people are going back to find out about Ger converts, I think it's it's not a concrete concept. It's more modern. We don't know how they used to do it. And so, I mean, I can understand them being a Puritan section of Jews, and I get it, and I admire it because they're doing it because they think that's what's right. It doesn't mean that makes us happy or feel good. It doesn't mean that we accept that that's the right way, because I think that there's an awakening to wisdom that's happening. At least that's, I still don't know the convert or how you become certain levels of ger or whatever. I think we're all trying to figure that out. And I think we've figured out we didn't know anything for such a long time. It's hard to be sure about anything anymore. But I don't think they're wrong being cautious or sticking to their traditions, because that's what has kept them who they are for such a long time.
I agree. And I'd like to qualify something I said earlier when there are folks out there who consider all non-Jews to be Akum, or have the din of an Akum, or that it's just that they're no different than anybody else. I think that I can understand, because let's face it, Goyim have not exactly made it easy in the past 1,000 years or 2,000 years. You know, we haven't, you know, I say we. The Goyim have not made it easy on Israel, and I can certainly understand their trepidation after, you know, what's happened the past century. Yeah, it's hard to fault. It's hard to fault that, isn't it? I agree with you, though. Yeah.
Right. And people just don't know what the process is. And so, I mean, we're finding out that ger means more than just convert, and that's not been the status quo. And so everybody's trying to figure out what with the converting, or with the converting, you know, not converting or whatever.
I was kidding with Mike in a group today. He was like, you know, he mentioned Deuteronomy 10. I looked at Deuteronomy 10, and it's love the stranger, for you were strangers. It's ger. Love the ger because you were ger in Egypt. And I wrote, it's a convert. Being, you know, because it's all about convert. That's Avraham. I was a convert and a sojourner in the land of Egypt, because gers are converts. And so he took me seriously. I'm like, oh my gosh, do you know me, dude? 3 years on. And he's like, no, you're reading the wrong translation. I'm like, dude, I'm making a joke, man. It's a joke. Yes, ger are convert. There is a pool of us, and I think it's become very clear recently to me. The convert, sadly, the convert, the ger tzaddik, the ger toshav, and the rest of us are kind of all, you know, who decide to go on that other side of the Red Sea, you know, whoever we are all ger. So I'm getting an even bigger picture of this ger notion. That the label, here it is. I'm this now, y'all. Just so you know now, I am a ger. I'm going to take it. I take it.
The thing is, there's not a category of convert. You're either ger or goy, or you're Israel. I mean, look at Ruth. She was a stranger until she belonged. And when she belonged, she belonged. She was not a convert. She was full-fledged. Naomi said, you know, what did she say exactly? You are. No. Ruth said, you're my mother. I will go where you go. Your people will be my people. She was a part. She was it. But she
still had to glean. Remember? She still had to glean. And it still took the judge, it still took Boaz, the judge, to, or at least, you know, it was recognized that she was a stranger. Here's some provisions for you. You know, there was, I don't know when, I think by the time, yeah, what do you say to that, right?
Well, but Naomi was poor and they didn't have any money. So it wasn't, you know, the widow and the orphan are still Jews. It doesn't, just because she was gleaning at, because she used to be a, you know, ger or an outsider, doesn't mean that the gleaning was purely because of that, because it could have just been that they were poor. They had no source of income. So I don't think the gleaning keeps her in a category of ger. It doesn't disqualify her from being the convert, being the Jew.
I heard that there's no one like Ruth, that there'll never be a convert like her again.
Right. Right.
I would hope that not be the case. Now, Hadassah, shalom, shalom, shalom. So glad to have you here. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
We were talking about that there are still some. Gav brought up, and oh, you hear that? Rabbi Gav said Hadassah is his little girl's name as well. We were discussing this, I think, on the Google Plus side of the Nexus. You mentioned that there are, and I've heard this. I heard this, and I posted a rabbi's video who talked about it in the Facebook side. That a convert isn't a convert to everybody. You're in the process. You've converted, or you're getting there. You're Ger Tzaddik either way. Tell us about this. That there are people there now. I mean, Gav was talking about the Syrian community out there. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish from another place, but if you're a convert, if you're within 3 generations of conversion, they won't let you marry into their community. You say you're hearing about this now in even the Western world, correct?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily the marriage part. It's just it's certain people, when they get mad, they want to blame converts for all their problems.
Is this the idea of?
I mean, it was the Aaron Rav, right? That ruined things with the golden calf. You know?
Well, it's
I mean, what it says. I mean, it clearly says that the non-Jews that converted, you know, they wanted the golden calf. It was the non-Jews that wanted to meet with Moses and complaining that they want to be fed meat. The incident with the rock, when Moses had a rock bottom the rock, people's elbow the rock. Instead of, you know, that was Aaron Rav. That was the. So it's not like we're so innocent, right? The convert is, you know, we got blood on our hands. Like it's like we got the blood on our hands with the knife, and we're saying we didn't stab the guy. You know, it's like you got the nails and the hammer, but yeah, you know, hey, look, he didn't get on the cross. That wasn't me.
Sure, we historically have our flaws, but I mean, just because one person who is a convert does something, like doesn't help you out or it doesn't give you tzedakah or whatever, doesn't mean that there's not 1,000 other people out there that are willing to help you who happen to be converts. You can't bash them all because you're trying to bash one.
It's true. I mean, in a I was being a little over the top, but it's true in a way. I mean, you also have to look at it from the other point of view. I mean, in a way, I think that's the point. I don't know. I mean, maybe we had the rabbi in the room. He'll maybe educate us. But I think the point is every Jew should be like a convert. I mean, isn't that the point, that they go through the process just like us? It's something that's part of the, how do you want to say it, the rigmarole. It's part of the shtick.
It's a fence, isn't it?
Part of the rigmarole, part of the shtick. Let's stop sugarcoating. It's a pain in the ass to be a convert.
Sure.
And generally speaking, and pardon I'm very, very direct. Get over it. It's a pain in the ass to be a Jew. It really is. Don't get me wrong. I would not trade it for anything. It's a beautiful, meaningful life, a beautiful, meaningful, endearing experience. But it's a pain in the ass. Your lot in life is not easy. It's not going to be easy. And for people who were born outside of it, it's doubly so. It is made doubly so to join into it.
Maybe you could, there is something here. I want to give a shout out real quick to Rabbi Asher Mesa. Now, he's had his say, and I've had my say with him, and I would hope that he would not consider me an opponent in any way. A big shout out to that man. We're not going to agree on everything, of course. Thank God we don't agree on everything, right? But I don't know, man. The more, and Gav, we've discussed this in here before, the more I think about the difficulty of conversion, I understand how badly Israel's been treated amongst the nations. But in this world today, are we doing a justice? Is it, does, you know, should I mean, wouldn't we want conversion to be a little easier? What if you come okay, here's a question for you, Gav, if you get a minute, if I may make so bold. What do you do when somebody marries in, or you get this outsider comes in, a Joey comes into the community, he goes through all the motions, he goes through all the classes, he passes his test with the rabbi, and Joey decides he's going to marry Rikva over here, and they get married, and then you notice that he's not living up to his potential. I mean, I understand why we're protecting, why we would protect ourselves, or why Jewish people would protect themselves from this, like you mentioned in Syria. But on the other side, is there a way to prevent it? Is there? I mean, what do you do with a guy like that? Do you encourage him? Do we have to kick him out after that? Is it all up to him? Does the community have a say in what goes on? Really?
Well, I'm gonna touch on one point real quick here. It's not in Syria that Syrian Jews are doing this. It's in New York that they're doing this. They don't live in Syria anymore. But going back to your further point, do we kick Joey out? Do we kick this convert, this Jew by choice out? No, we don't do that anymore for a Jew that was born Jewish and decides to hit a rough patch and go off the wagon. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. So, no, I mean, what you do is you do it with how you'd handle anybody else. You try to help them when you can, but no, you don't lose your card, so to speak, just because after the fact you mess up a little bit. It doesn't work that way.
We needed AA. We needed like a rehabilitation. You know, we needed like a send them to a. Go ahead.
Try to help the guy. You want to bring him closer. If he's feeling an attraction elsewhere, wouldn't you want to bring the convert closer to you? Wouldn't you? You know.
Of course, of course. And that's exactly the point. And you shouldn't treat them. And look, once they come out of the mikveh, once that's a done deal, once they've accepted this upon them in front of 3 observant Jewish men, and they've been circumcised and immersed in the mikveh, it's a done deal. It's a one-way door. There's no going back through it. Okay? It's incumbent upon you, and you'll be judged individually according to these standards that you've accepted upon yourself, but also the community and the nation as a whole will be judged collectively by its members as well. So it's a very serious thing, of course, but absolutely, once you come out of that mikveh, we're stuck with you, and you're stuck with us. Whether there's no reverse process where you un-Jew, okay?
And this goes for the women as well, correct?
Of course.
I didn't know the women went to the mikveh. That was a new thing. I never thought of that before.
Everybody has to convert. Everybody has to go to the mikveh.
Everybody, yeah. I'm not a woman. I just never thought of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Asher's big on just be Jewish, and you know, I have a real hard time arguing with that, and it really breaks my heart to hear. It really does. It breaks my heart to hear that people who go through this. And I'll tell you this: it's not easy being a Noahide. It's not easy being Ben Noah. I don't even want to. I could not even imagine the flack that Jews have had to put up with in this world. Okay, but yeah, once you leave the world and you pull an Avraham and you go do your own thing, it's rough.
It's
I don't
very.
think there's.
It's
Go
very.
ahead.
I mean, it's being for us, it's being a nation apart. I grew up partially in the United States. I never saw myself as an American, ever. You're always, no matter where you are in the world, you're a Jew first. That's what you are. That's your primary obligation. And no matter what, no matter how friendly and how nice you may be, as long as you stand up for that absolute standard that comes from Torah, you're a messenger that the world is bound to hate because you carry a message that they don't like.
Oy.
At least you belong. At least you know you're a Jew. You have a purpose.
I have scars all over me showing me that I'm a Jew.
Yes, but that you understand why they are there. You understand why you're getting the scars.
Of course I understand.
I have no idea what we're doing. I have no idea what the right way is. I'm very confused. I don't belong anywhere. I'm looking at the scars and I'm going, okay, like I'm trusting you, Hashem, because everything is you. And I get that now. But I don't have a clue what's going on or what the purpose is, why we're alone. It's hard to keep going when you don't know. It's not so clear that you're a set apart people, that you have a purpose in creation, and that you're going to make everything better in the end by taking on the scars. And I'm glad that you guys do it. And I'm glad that you've done it for such a long time. And nothing that we're going through probably can compare, because you guys have been prosecuted so much worse in a time that was so much more brutal. And I don't know how you did it. And so I guess I want to know, I guess I want some advice from my big brother on how to get through it.
For me, and I wish I had a more meaningful answer. For me, it wasn't a choice. It's just it is what it is what it is. I mean, I could stop keeping mitzvot. I could try and blend in with mainstream society. I could change my name from Gavriel to just Gabriel, and I could stop using my Hebrew name altogether. People would still hate me. I know, because it's happened to members of my family. It's happened to other Jews that I've known. No matter what, you're always going to be different, and if you try to become one of them, they're just going to hate you more. So it was never a choice for me. But if you don't know where you are, if you don't know where you're going, and you don't feel like you belong anywhere, there are worse things than not having a home right away. There are many, many worse things. You could still be the person you were. Well, I don't know. I haven't known you that long, so I don't know how long you've been on this particular journey. So you could still be the same person you were, let's say, 5 years ago. You could still be worshiping the J-Man, as it were. So let me put it this way: it's hard to see now, and it's hard to understand now. You're already in a better place that you were, and the place you are right now is not the place that you're going to stay forever. I can tell you that right now. If you're that bothered by it, I can tell you right now that's not going to remain the case forever. So keep your chin up, keep doing what you're doing, and keep searching.
I've found it difficult. This letter that was written and all the zhush that goes along with it. It hurt, and I felt that thing that made me flee before. My first journey into Judaism was interrupted with a divorce, and it kept me afloat amongst a bottle that I was seeking the bottom of for a while. I came back and began to take it very seriously, took classes, studied profusely. I went to 3 classes plus a 2.5, 3 hour study session, whatever it took. Bob Wells, and the politics drove me away, or I wasn't ready to get there. I felt burned. And I couldn't shake it. I couldn't shake Torah. You just can't shake this stuff. You can't shake the Almighty. Once you shook the man's hand, if you will, once you've been there, you can't shake him. And warts and all, I just laid myself down. This is all I have. I'll find my place eventually. Then a book came out and things changed and everyone started talking again about this sort of thing. And I haven't felt the urge to say F it all in a few years. I guess it's been about 5 years now, until this week when people want to make you feel like an outsider, and they want to turn Ben Noach against Ben Noach. People are coming together for God's sake, and they want to turn people against each other. Against. It's not about difference of opinion. Thank God for difference of opinion. Thank God that we can communicate our differences of opinion. We're only going to learn more from it. We're only going to grow from it. Good, there's friction. Friction makes the flowers grow. That's what gives us thunder and rain, lightning. And lightning creates ozone. Friction is good. Friction, but there is a definite division. And man, I hadn't felt that urge. It lasted about 5 minutes. It wasn't big, but it was there, and I noticed it, and it stuck with me. And no, I'm not. No, I'm not gonna cower away like a wounded hyena into a cave. I'm not gonna back down. I'm not gonna stop being who I am. Damn it! At least I'm an American. I have the freedom to be who I want to be, even if I'm wrong. Thank God for America again. I felt the pull away. Fight it. We'll be all right. This is a flash in a pan. That's why I had to come back to Israel. That's why I made a personal, conscious decision. It was very personal, it was very conscious, and it was very deliberate. I have to accept Israel. I can't get mad that half of them don't believe in God in America. I can't get mad that there's going to be some prominent Jews out there who have completely different political views and say that I'm burning in hell because I don't follow this candidate. I have to accept that. And then I realized I have to be a better person because they're going to have to accept me. Now, this is before this whole book thing came out. Okay? That was before this thing was a dirty word. Before this was a 4-letter nasty word that allows Noahites to talk shit on other humans. It's what they do. It's a joke. Noahism is a joke. It's a proven joke. It's Hashem. It's Chumash. It's finding people. We'll be okay. But I know the loneliness, and damn, do I know what it's like to be feeling like the whole thing I'm going for is attacking me. It's not. There's a bigger picture at hand, and we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. We do the best we can, and we do it for God's sake. We're going to be okay. And yeah, we are attaching ourselves to the sadly most hated bunch in the world, the most beneficial bunch in the world. Oi, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. We really will. That's my 2 cents. Anybody else?
Yeah, the closer you are to God, the more you're hated. And it's almost instinctual. The closer you are, you smell different, you act, even though you don't act different, your spirit is different, your soul is different. And souls tend to pick up on that. And it doesn't make you better than anybody, but that's what the generations have taught. Because the Jews are the chosen race of God's word and to keep it pure and holy.
Okay, but how does that work with Abraham being a host? Did they hate him? Because he was close to Hashem? It doesn't sound like that. It sounds like he welcomed them in and they gladly, went into his tent and shared his food and listened to him about Hashem.
Yes, because he was a poor man, one poor man sitting in a tent. He wasn't a nation that eventually became so successful, defying all the laws of the trajectory of how a nation should exist in this world and carry the same message. Abraham was just one man. Jews are a nation descent from him that, in spite of being historically very horrendously oppressed, have also managed to become very successful while still very stubbornly refusing to become like everybody else. That's very different.
Right, but they're being hated because of their history and who they are. But the comment was that when you get close to God, then people hate you because of that. I mean, it's a different. They're hating you and they don't even realize why.
They do. They won't admit it. They'll pawn it off on a different reason, but yeah, they do.
Okay, did they hate Abraham then? Does that rule not apply?
Some people did, some people didn't. I mean, it's Abraham fought wars. He fought in battles. There were people who were not particularly kind or just to him, for sure. But you have to understand, this was one man and a very small group of followers. You could call it maybe an extended family that was not powerful. So some people probably paid him no mind. So there were the people that paid him mind, people that came and sat in his tent and joined him, were probably people that were convinced, the people that liked him and liked his message.
Okay, so I don't have to feel guilty that I don't like everybody or that they don't like me.
Absolutely not. You are perfectly fine.
No.
You have to remember, too, that God's presence was a whole lot stronger back then than what it is now, too.
Well, but part of it is, like, if Hashem is everywhere and everything.
He's also nowhere.
And he's also nowhere. Yeah, I guess I'm looking for I'm looking for Hashem in every face that I come across. And
is not Hashem in the heart of the devil?
Well, what's a devil?
The adversary, your opponent.
Well, the adversary is in
not in the heart of the adversary.
Yes, absolutely.
Then you got it made. You can lick them.
Yeah.
I know what you're feeling, man. I mean, ma'am, I know where you're coming from, and sir, I know exactly. It's rough.
I just want to say, because we've talked in the past, and you have a beautiful story and a beautiful background. I say if anyone really goes by the word gear or whatever that means, I mean, there's so much nonsense that goes around the word and around today, and I mean, you're doing practically everything you can possibly be doing. You told me you make challah bread, you like Shabbos candles, you study Torah, your husband does a lot. It's just from my perspective, I think you're like an Avraham. You're like an Avraham and Sarah. I mean, you basically. I don't really know any way to put it other than to tell you that, like, to say what James has said. You're doing all right. I think we'll be all right. I think all of us. You.
Agreed.
I guess I want to get to the point where I feel like I'm close enough to Hashem or know enough or something to be able to actually share it and be like Abraham and Sarah were, because that's the thing that I set him
just
up.
Do it.
You just want a little company, right? You just want to share it with someone else, right? Have Shabbos dinner with a company or family or friends or something, right?
It's not about the social aspect; it's about the spiritual.
Spiritual. Okay.
But it's about the social aspect too. We have 4 children. Who are they going to marry?
Yes, sir.
I mean, we have a few friends who have children who are also Gerim. That doesn't make a whole lot of choices for our children.
You've got 10, 15 years left. That'll work its way out.
The 10, 15.
Worried about today.
We have 6 years.
We have 6 years. Yeah.
I've got 2 youngins. I got 2 and a 5, and yeah, I wonder. I've got to up my game here in the household, man. I got to set a better example for them. I would hope. I would like him to marry a nice Jewish doctor. That'd be perfect for me. Are you kidding? Oh my gosh! If my girls could go Jew, are you kidding me? I would be elated if I would be so proud of them. I'm not kidding.
Well, and that's the thing for me too, though. Like, we talked about sending them to a Jewish summer camp or something, but at the same time, if we're not Jewish and we don't have any plans on converting, then should we expect our children to convert? And if we are sending them to Jewish things, then the main interaction that they have in potential spouses would be Jewish, that's not right to them either.
To them.
To them as in well, first off, the Jewish children who would be marrying our children, they need to marry a Jew. And that's the thing. I don't want our children to influence them.
Mm.
We don't want to, maybe a Reformed Jew could potentially get confused and marry our Ger child when they don't know any better, or maybe they're not from, or whatever. We wouldn't want to be the cause of that.
Well, see, my kids are going to know that mom is, she's based Noahide, if you will, Stam Noahide. Her family's very Christian. My family's very Christian. She's going to know that daddy does something different. My 2-year-old, whenever she sees a real book and not a kid's book, she goes and gets daddy's hat to open it up, because daddy's always wearing, some kind of, covering, if you, or my fedora, whatever. So they see this and they know that there is a chance that if they grow up and will, I'm hoping that, daddy's devotion will rub off on them. My son's already calling himself a Noahide. He's 16. And he's gotten flack for that. He came to me and he hated Christians. He was ready to ditch Christians. It's like, you can't do that, kid. I mean, you can, but you can't do that. These are good people. They don't know no better. So what he was kicked out of camp because he was a Noahide. His wife paid, and my ex-wife paid for him to, a couple $100 to go to a camp, and he got kicked out because he wasn't, a Jesus freak. Excuse my French. And he came back hating Christians, and we had to explain to him. It's like, well, Grandma Kathy's a Christian. Grandma Dee's a Christian. Are they bad people? No. It's rough, man. He has to deal with that. He's 16. So he's pretty much already been shoved over to the Jew side already. I mean, you and the family, you went to a Rosh Hashanah. You went to Rosh Hashanah at the temple in Kansas City. Oi, what better exposure can you be giving your kids? No, we're not Jews, but these are God's people. This is I think they're going to be okay.
I'm sure they're going to be okay. I guess my point is, relationships work best when you are of similar backgrounds, and so ideally we would be able to find Gerim who we could potentially pair up our children with, who have this kind of a similar story, and say, oh man, we had those similar experiences in our childhood, starting off our lives going to a Christian church every Sunday, and sometimes even Wednesday prayer service and everything, right? And then we had this whole transition into Hebrew roots, Messianic style, and then all the way into rejecting Shituf and the Gerim, style. So the whole story behind it would be something that I mean, I guess when I see something that works, I want that for my children too. And when I say that, I mean, my wife and I have a very similar background, and it works really well, because we can say, oh yeah, we know that experience, and this is why we like it, or we know that experience and this is why we don't like it. We have similar experiences.
We also wanted to leave the choice of conversion up to our children, and to help let them decide what kind of life they wanted to do, if they wanted to stay Ger, or if they decided to convert. And at that point, if they converted, and they wanted to marry Jewish, of course that would make me happy.
Oh yeah.
But if they didn't want to, if they wanted to stay Ger, and the person they wanted to marry was Ger, and maybe someday in the future as a couple they would decide to convert, that would be fine too. But leaving the choice up to them, because at the moment we don't feel like we're supposed to convert, and that's okay. If that's, Hashem put us where we are with who we are with, and with a certain purpose, and we're trying to figure that out. But I don't know, I just felt like it's a choice for our children still.
My wife and I, if it'll who we're going to marry, I've pretty much given up. My wife wanted to take the forefront in the conversion idea when we were considering it, and she was at this time pregnant with my child, and she knew where I was going, or where I'd been, and that I wasn't going to back down. Yeah, she wasn't sincere about it. But I met a woman, and by the time I met my second wife, the fact that she was a God-fearer, she was raised Catholic. I didn't even ask her. I didn't care. It was one of the things I asked her, do you believe in God? She said yes. That was on the night that I asked her to marry me. We'd only, hung out like twice. I knew about this woman ahead of time. I just knew. And it was like, do you believe in God? She's like, yes, that's it. That's it. At that point in my life, I was so blessed to have a God-fearer that was interested, that I was interested, that there was a reciprocation, there was something going on. And it hadn't been so bad. It really hadn't been so bad. I wouldn't trade her for the world. She's really supportive of me and what I do. If she wants to put up a Hanukkah bush, I get all stringent and say we can't have idols, we can't have prayers. I do light a menorah because I believe it combats the Christianity. Might even complement it, and that's kind of what I'm getting to, is the complementation. That a God-fearer alone in today's world is a blessing. And even for the convert, even for the Ger, if they believe in the Creator and they believe in God, and okay, so this JC guy, whoopee-doo. As long as I don't catch you bowing before a dead man on a stick, that's secondary to me. The fact that I found a God-fearer, and a supportive God-fearer at that, it's not so bad. We might have it might not be so bad that that you find a Christian mate, or maybe even a Muslim mate. Being raised, at least your children have an influence. They have an awareness. They've been brought before Israel. I didn't have that opportunity. Henry Bro, my granddad's best friend. That's what I knew as a Jew originally in my childhood. I didn't know what it did. Okay, so he was Jewish. I thought it was the nose. Okay, whatever. I didn't know, but this is the man that held my grandfather. They held each other when they saw the Statue of Liberty and wept on each other's shoulders. Coming back from World War II, and remained his best friend till the day he died. And I think that when you put your kids into good stuff and you give them the best you can, I hope I really do. I mean, who they marry, okay, of course you want them. Of course you want your children to go marry a Jew. I would love my children to marry into a Jewish, are you kidding? A man who would hold their purse and loves them and treats them right? Are you kidding? Why would I not want my women to go Jewish? Hell yeah! Are you kidding me? But if they don't, because they've been given a nice strong dose, a good pure. They've tasted the waters of the tree of life in Eden. They know this deliciousness, and they're going to go in the world and find out that you're going to find that deliciousness anywhere else but Israel. God willing, they're going to rebel, but I think honestly, kids come back. I really do. I hope anyway, and I don't know. I'm learning this as I go too. I have no idea where I'm going, and I just do the best I can. We haven't heard from Kadasi yet much. She's actually one of those who's gone or is going through. She's in the process of. She's like Ger Tzaddik. She knows what's going on here. Any advice? Any thoughts? You'd like to share, please, my lady.
Sure. So I'm in process with the CRC. And I think the biggest thing about, some of the things we've talked about, first of all, when it comes to what you're keeping, not keeping, and you're really worried about it, number one, don't stress out about it, because that will wear you down the most of it, more than anything else. There were points in my life where, I'm like, oh, well, I know I'm undergoing conversion, that I'm supposed to be Jewish, but, I have to, at the time I was in nursing school doesn't allow you off for the holidays. If they say you have to come in on Shabbos and make up work, then you have to come in on Shabbos and make up work. And so I used to beat myself up about it. And I used to beat myself up about, the little things that I couldn't keep here and there. And it wore me down very, very quickly. And another thing, I'm trying to remember what we talked about, because I wanted to jump in, but everybody's like all over the place. Give me a minute and I'll think about it.
That's good. We're all over the place. We are global. We are glacial. Okay, Gav, I want to call you out on this right now. I was going to write in the side chat here. Rav Schwartz. Is this the same Rav Schwartz who's given approbation to books like the Service from the Heart? I hate to say this, but a famous rabbi who's been very good with the Noahide folk. Is this the same Rabbi Schwartz?
To be honest with you, I don't know.
Okay.
You mentioned the CRC. I'm assuming she's referring to the Chicago Rabbinical Council, which is the main Beit Din in Chicago, which is actually, there was a case I represented before them actually on Tuesday.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it's a long story.
Dude, that was so freaking awesome. That's all I'm going to say. That was so awesome. That was great. That was perfect. That was great. That was good news. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but it's that the Rabbi Schwartz, he's the Av Beis Din. He's the guy that signs off on everything the Beis Din does. I don't know if he's the same one you're talking about, James, but he's a very, very good man.
Can you tell what the ordeal earlier this week that you went through? There was, I'm gonna bring it. Go ahead. Yeah.
So it's a very kind of once in a lifetime thing. I've heard of other things similar to this happening, but not exactly. So what I do it mostly pro bono, because my university education was as a historian, and I have experience as an archivist and as a genealogist. What I do is I help people that are trying to figure out whether or not they have Jewish ancestry, or if they could be potentially Jewish. I do research for them, again, mostly pro bono. I don't really charge money for it, to figure out if they are or not, and kind of help them figure out where they need to be. I was planning on coming to America this month for a number of reasons to visit. My sister is one of them, and my mother's yard site is coming up, and we have an unveiling at her grave site. And I got a phone call. Someone referred a young woman to me, young woman who lives in Skokie, Illinois. She converted 4 years ago with the CRC in Chicago, the Beit Din there, and she remembers her adopted both her adopted parents, the parents that adopted her, are long gone, they're long dead. But she remembers them talking about how her biological mother that they adopted her from was Jewish, but she didn't have any proof of it, and so when she converted right after college, I think she was 23, 24 years old. It ends up falling in love with a guy. They want to get married. No problem, right? No, I'm sorry, problem. He's a Kohen. A Kohen can't marry a convert. So there's the problem. And so I get this phone call from this girl or whatever, and I was able to, finding out what her name and through her social security number, her mother being deceased, her biological mother, that is, I was able to get records showing, her adoption papers. I was able to get records of where her mother is from, where her mother is buried. She's buried in a Jewish cemetery locally in Chicago. There's absolutely no doubt that this woman was born Jewish. And so basically what I had to do is I went with her to the Beit Din in Chicago, and I didn't really know how they would react. I was like, this woman basically converted, I don't want to say facetiously, I don't think there's any deceit in it, but she converted when she didn't really have to. And so what we would like to do is for you to annul the conversion and issue what's called a Tudat HaMavar, which is a document that a Beit Din will issue when they have enough evidence that someone is Jewish, so they'll have proof so they can get married or whatever. So they were able to do that, and now because she has the status of a born Jew instead of a convert, she was able to marry this guy, which actually that happened earlier today. She actually married him. So,
oh,
that's awesome.
And the fact that she was a Cohen, correct? Her bloodline.
No, he was.
Oh, he was.
He is. I shouldn't say was.
Right.
No, she wasn't. She was given up for adoption when she was very, very young. There's a Jewish lady in Chicago had her out of wedlock, and that's not a statement of judgment on my part, but she was not able to give her the home that she needed, so she gave her up for adoption. And unfortunately, through some, normally you can get the help of an agency within the Jewish community that'll help put them with a Jewish family. For whatever reason, that did not happen in this case. She ended up with a Catholic family, ended up ditching Catholicism, I guess, in her late teens, and by some miracle became interested in Judaism. And her adoptive mother told her that her birth mother was Jewish, and she said, okay, that's interesting, but she had no proof, so she ended up converting years later because she had no other way of entering the community. So it's a very, very, very unique story.
That's really cool.
That tops my opening story, which was the robot lady in Saudi Arabia, now given citizenship.
What's that now?
That was our opening story here on the Nexus tonight. I felt this was too good to pass up. Saudi Arabia has become the first country to give citizenship to a robot, likened to a female. So the female robot now gets better treatment than human women.
I was going to say the robot woman probably has more rights than actual women in Saudi Arabia. Well, I mean, in Saudi Arabia, women are basically livestock that you get to have sex with. Is basically the status they have, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, not anymore. Because the female robots got So your story is much better than that. Hey, how about anybody up for a Haftorah? Anybody here up for a Haftorah?
Sure,
tonight?
let's do it.
Let's do it. It's about 9:30. It's about that time. Lech Lecha is the Torah portion, which we didn't really get into as much as maybe we should have. But this is where Avraham leaves his family, his roots, and goes on to something better. There's Sodom and Gomorrah because Lot's saved. And God had to bargain with God, if you will. Not many people could do that. Avraham did. He bargained with God to save Lot. There's a lot that goes on in the Parsha that we didn't cover, but we'll get to some of that in the Haftorah, which for those of you tuning in for the first time, watching for the first time, the Haftorah is a section of the Hebrew Bible that is not the Torah, but directly pertains to the portion of the Torah that we read this week. And in Lech Lecha, the Haftorah is Isaiah, the wonderful prophet Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 27. And we're going to go through 41:16. So I'm reading from the Gutnick edition. This year. I've gone through the Stone edition for 2-3 years now, so I'm going to enter into a new Chumash. It reads a bit different. I'm getting used to the parentheses, Yochanan. I'm getting used to the parentheses. I'm getting used to it.
1377 if you have a Gutnick.
That's right. Well, it's Isaiah 40:27. We'll start there. Okay, here we go. Yaakov, why do you say? And Israel, why do you declare? My way of serving God has been hidden from and ignored by God, and my judgment passes unrewarded from God. Don't you know from your own mind, even if you have not heard from your teachers, that God is an everlasting God, the creator of the entire world from end to end. He does not become tired or weary and fluctuate in his performance, so your reward will be definitely come, but there is no comprehension of his wisdom as to why he delays it. The time will come when he gives strength to the weary people of Israel and increases power to those without strength. The nations of the world who are now strong like young men will become tired and weary, and their young bachelors will repeatedly stumble. But those who place their hope in God will regain their strength and grow wings like eagles. They will run to their land and not become weary. They will walk and not get tired. You who live in islands, be silent and listen to me. Let the nations muster their strength to defend themselves before me. First, let them come and listen to my prosecution, and then they can ask if they indeed have anything to say in their defense. Then the nations and I will debate together to judge their claims that I am unable to save my people. Who awakened Avraham when he was in the east to leave his home and despise idolatry? Everyone that he trod, he preached righteousness, demanding that people abandon their idols and believe in God, who is the one that placed nations before him and enabled him to dominate 4 mighty kings. Those killed by the sword were as numerous as the dust, and his bow killed by many like piles of beaten straw. He pursued them, and he passed through in peace, though it was a path where his feet had never tread. Who caused and orchestrated this for him? This one who calls and designates the time and place of each generation From before they are born, I, God, am the first one, before all the generations, and I am the same one who remains with the last generations. The inhabitants of the distant islands saw the miracles as I performed for Avraham and become frightened. Even the ones who live at the ends of the earth became terrified. They drew near and became to Avraham, not to wage war, but merely to beg for their captives. Yet, despite all the miracles that the nations saw God make for Avraham, each man carried on, helping his friend to make idols. Each person would encourage his brother, saying, "Be strong. Keep on sculpting idols." When a carpenter would make an idol, he would... parentheses, here we go. When a carpenter who would make an idol, he would hurry to the goldsmith to finish off the idol's coating quickly. The one who smooths the idol with a small mallet would hurry. The blacksmith who did the initial metal work, beating very hard with a large hammer, the one who glued the idol together would say with glee about the glue, "It is good." And he would fasten the metal coating onto the idol with nails so it would not fall off. But you, Israel, are not like them, because you are my servants, children of Yaakov. I chose you to be my people, because you are the descendants of Avraham, who loved me and separated from idol worship. In the future, I will grasp you from the corners of the earth and call to realize, and call to release you from the control of its powerful people. I told you, you are my servant from the time that I have chosen you, and I have not despised you. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Do not turn away, thinking that I have abandoned you, because I am your God, as I have always been. I strengthen you with positive words for comfort. I helped you from the very beginning when you were in the hands of the enemy. I supported you with my righteousness. I supported you with my righteous right hand. Indeed, all those who were angry with you will eventually be shamed and embarrassed. Those who quarrel with you will be like nothing and perish. Even if you will seek them, you will not find the men who fight with you. The men who wage war with you will be null and void. For I am God, your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, "Do not fear, I will help you," so you can rely on my word. Do not fear, children of Yaakov, people of Israel, who are as weak as a worm, whose strength is its mouth, i.e. prayer. I have helped you in the past, says God, and I, the Holy One of Israel, will be your Redeemer in the future. I have made you into a new grooved threshing hammer with sharp edges. You will thresh kings mighty as mountains and crush them fine and make hills like chaff. You will scatter them. The wind will carry them away and the storm will scatter them. You will rejoice with God and praise yourself for trusting in the Holy One of Israel.
Brooke, does that speak to you?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
I asked Brooke if that was speaking to her directly. And hopefully she will find some comfort in that. So if anything that she said today, earlier, she should take comfort in knowing that everything she just said earlier was just addressed here in this half Torah. So you're on the right path, sweetheart.
Yeah, that seems to be the way Hashem works. That he gives you what you need right when you need it.
And you don't even know it's coming, do you? Right?
No.
It just...
Well,
That's the way it works.
like we started when, you know, and this is all live, when we first got on, you were very aware that we were not reading the portion, so we didn't know. So that was not planned. That was awesome. Thank you, Rosalie.
Yeah, it works like that every year. We're publicly
Not a problem.
we're moving into our 4th year here, and it's like this every year. Every year it's like this. You know, there's gems in the Haftorah, and it's a great introduction into the Hebrew Bible. You know, when Bob and I did a Haftorah study for over a year. That's what we studied. You know, we took the Parsha as read, and we came to study, and that was what we studied, was the Haftorah. And then later on, after that, I began to get the history and how, you know, all these books of the Bible are telling one big story. It is interesting that this week's Parsha is not too dissimilar to Noah. Take your family and isolate yourself from the world. And then he gives them everything they need to survive the world to come. Trees, bushes, whatever. All the species worthy of being around at that point, they could come. You know, and then here we have that again with Lech Lecha. You know, leave what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. We're going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you. It's an Adam Sandler skit. Mom, I want to go to a party tonight. They're all going to laugh at you. No! But Mom, my friends are going to be there. No, they're all going to laugh at you. It's a joke. Okay. You know, these are people who left what they knew. They left their world for the sake of God. I mean, Avraham, a great, and this is I like this, you know, because our Muslim Brotherhood, they know the story too of Avraham. Is when he was a child, he was 3, I believe, and his father was an idolater, but he was smart. See, he was the maker of idols for other people, so you could go into his shop and find any idol you wanted for any god that you were worshiping at that time. Of course, being where he was, there's a lot of traffic from east to west and south and north. So, you know, he had every kind of idol. So one day he lets his son, he says, Avraham, I want you to, and this is a very special person. You wouldn't do this with, I think, your average 3-year-old today. But his father left his 3-year-old son, smart kid, in charge of the idol shop. So his father goes away to do what he's going to do, and Avraham takes a rod and smashes every single statue in his entire father's shop, his livelihood. Smashes every single one of them, and then leaves the big idol and puts the rod that and puts it in his hand and waits. His dad comes home. Their dad comes back to the shop. Dad's like, "Ah, what are you doing to me? What are you doing? What happened? What is this?" He goes, "Oh, don't look at me. This big idol over here didn't want all these other idols to rival him, so he smashed them all so he could be king." And his father goes, "Are you kidding me? It's an idol. It didn't do anything like that. There's no such thing." And Abraham's like, yeah, see, right, right. And you know, at 3, so this kid was intuiting God from the beginning. He was already in tune. That's the difference from Noah to Avraham. Noah, the end of flesh has come before me, you'll build an ark. Yes, Lord. Absolutely. Whatever you say, God. Yes. Oh, we're not asking more questions. I don't want to do this. We're going to keep our nose to the grindstone. That's how it's going to be. Avraham was seeking God. What is that? What is it? Moses asked, "Who am I?" And Avraham asked, "Where are you?" He knew God was there. He knew God was there. Why are you hidden? Come to me. Who are you? Where are you? You know, he knew who God. He intuited God from the get-go. That was the big special point about Avraham I wanted to make tonight. This was a special human being. Yes, he later on. Yes, he learned in the tents of Shem. Shem, a mighty man who set up the first yeshiva, the first priest mentioned in the Bible. The Melchizedek, but Avraham, he was special from the get-go. There was something about him that sparked. He knew instinctively there is God and sought him out. I still can't find another reference in the English translation that says that anybody else is God's friend. I got castigated for that in the group. I'm still trying to find it. I can't find it. The only man God calls friend I can find in the Hebrew Bible is Avraham. So thank you, Avraham. I learn a lot from your hospitality and the greatness you can bring to the world. If everybody could have the hospitality of Avraham, oh man, that would be a fruitful party. That would be a fruitful, never-ending party. That's my gig. John, you had to dip out, so talk Avraham for me. Let's go. Or anybody else who wants to. I'm picking on him because he left.
I think the fact that the Haftorah is this week for Lech Lecha is not necessarily coincidence that it is this week. Because I was reading the commentary, and I think it really relates to what we've been talking about with the division of the rabbis on the whole Ger issue, the division of the Noahide community, and all of these rejection events, whatever that's been going on with the converts. Because I was reading this commentary at the bottom, and it says, Hashem gives strength to the weary. Isaiah proclaims those who trust him will find new strength and ultimately prevail. Rather than focus on the shortcomings of peoples, Jews and Gentiles, we should look to the obvious manifestations of Hashem's sovereignties and recognize that, despite the transitory events, may sometimes indicate the only intelligent course is to serve God. So, despite what's going on out there, we just need to be focused on our path, and everything is going to be okay, as you say.
Well, I was going to do an Ode to Gav segment if he showed up, and he's here.
Yay.
We are truly blessed to have you, my friend. And any time you come by is a good day. So thank you for hanging with us, this folk. But I really want to do an Ode to Hadassah, because for those of us who are a little farther away, your presence is pretty damn cool. I thought hearing Torah from a Texan accent like Russell and Mike down south was cool, but when you get it from a Southern accent, oh, it's even better. Oh, baby. So you are awesome, and thank you for being here. And I'm glad you're part of the Nexus with us here. So that's all. I might as well go to everybody else. John, he started the whole idea of this hangout bit we would do. Brookie, you guys are just awesome, and you get it, and that's important. So thank you as well. And Rosalie, you're awesome, and that's all I'm going to say. I've told everybody in here how awesome they are. Rosalie, you're the shiznat. You're my like co-pilot. I tell you.
No worries. You have to have the feminine and the male. So I try to balance everything out.
That's true. We got the girls here. That's right.
Yep.
We got Hadassah, we got Brookie Lee. I mean, how many women show up to Noahide Studies on Facebook or on? Not as many as here, because we are the cool ones, y'all. That's right.
Right.
We will hold her purse here at the Nexus. Damn straight.
And we don't have to be from Wyoming either.
And we don't have to be from Wyoming. That was a George Carlin line. And just plain guys from Montana. So I had to figure out another funny sounding word in the country that, wasn't as funny or as funnier than Montana. I thought Wyoming. There's not a more funny sounding state. Tennessee, you kind of have to smile when you say Tennessee, don't you? But yet, it doesn't sound nearly as funny as Wyoming. Just plain guys from Wyoming are welcome here at the Nexus.
I'll have to find some.
So when it comes to the enemy, and we've got him, we're going to be okay. I hate to say it like that, but yeah, when Moses had his hands up The army won. The army prevailed. Let's remember Moses with his hands up. And it wasn't just about all Moses. Yeah, Moses is the greatest prophet that ever lived. Moses was, was the man, but he had people holding his arms up for him. That is the power of Torah. That's the power of God. Moses couldn't hold him up anymore. So everybody helped. Everybody gathered together and held him up for him, and Israel prevails. We got some folks out there in the Noahide world claiming things that aren't true about some of us who are students of a certain rabbi. Rabbi Katz, I'm not afraid, he's not Voldemort, I'll say his name. Rabbi David Katz, he's cool. And yeah, he's searching like the rest of us. He's working through it. We're getting through this thing. It's okay. But we've caught people red-handed. People in the Ger group. I'm not speaking on behalf of any Ger group, but we have people, that they use the name and they'll compare us to Christians, and we have people who we've never heard of, students and friends of the man, never heard of, coming in and making false accusations about certain students. If you're watching, we've got a few listeners tonight. Stay away from organizations. There's only one organization. It's the Congregation of Jacob. You want Torah, find a from rabbi. He might agree with you. He might disagree with you. He might go to a from rabbi. Go to Israel herself. Avoid organizations. Make some offline friends, because there's a lot of nastiness online. I think people feel free to be bigger than they are. I tried that for a while years ago. It doesn't work, but new people come in all the time. Don't listen to organizations. Listen to your heart. Listen to what God says. Read the Torah. Listen to God. Listen to what your heart says, and you'll be all right. You'll be okay. We'll be okay. We have a stake in everything Israel does. Anything the Jewish people do, we have an absolute stake in. If anyone tells you different, and some do, blow them off. They build the house for all nations. We can help them. We can help if what little we can, even a contribution to a good charity, a worthy charity. They build the house for all nations. It is through them that we get world peace, or that world peace is at least recognized. So, stay away from the organizations. It's a nation of people. It's different views. It's an elephant from many sides, and we're all going to get there. I would stay away from the organizations of people that divide. We have all kinds coming here, and all kinds should be welcome and will be welcome. Let not the Nokri, let not the foreigner feel that he is detached from the temple. One day the Nokri will have their offerings, accepted at the temple. Don't go divisiveness. It's one God. It's unity beyond us. Let's strive to be that unity as best we can. There's my 2 cents. Anything else anybody else has to say?
Yeah, I do. I have to say something.
Yeah.
Each group that you come in contact with has their own place. And you should see them as a stepping stone, or like an elementary school where you graduate from one class to the next to the next. And how dare the kindergarten teacher tell the college professor that he is wrong? It might not, her students aren't ready for it, and that's obvious. So he should not have a place in her group on that basis alone. But that does not make him wrong. That's all I've got to say.
Amen.
I just want to read something here. This is an email that gets sent out from the temple I go to, Chabad Roslyn. I just want to read here. Maybe it have something to do with, maybe it could give us insight of, I don't know. Maybe. Let's hope so.
Maybe. Let's see.
All right. Lach Lecha. This is for the Torah portion. From the very beginning, Jews have been moving. Avraham, the very first Jew, was commanded before anything else to move. God instructs him in this week's Torah portion to leave his land, his birthplace, and his father's house, and to travel to Israel. He promises that if Avraham complies, him and his offspring will be given great personal and communal blessings. Two questions spring to mind. First, why would a simple move be deserving of such immense reward? And second, why would this request of God be his very first message to the very first Jew, and by extension, all the Jewish people? The question lies within the answer lies within the surface of God's request. God was not merely demanding a geographical move. He was looking for spiritual change. The places that Avraham was told to leave, his land, his birthplace, and his father's home, represent the most powerful influences in our lives, our habits, our surroundings, and our background, all of which can obstruct our quest for spiritual perfection. God was, in fact, urging Avraham to free himself from these external influences so he can truly embrace monotheism. Moreover, the Lord was revealing to Avraham all the future generations the secret to self-discovery. Once you rid yourself of external influences and obstructions, you will find yourself, go find yourself, in touch with your true spiritual self-seeking self, enabling you to easily connect to your Judaism in a very real and meaningful way. Making these behavioral and life-altering changes is the start of an awesome and rewarding journey. It is the secret to self-discovery and thus truly is worthy of being the very first message ever conveyed to the Jewish people. The literal meaning of Lech Lecha is to go to yourself. Go, or it could be rendered, go for yourself. Go to yourself or go for yourself. Meaning, go to your true inner higher self, which can be only reached with Hashem's assistance.
Amen. Amen. Can't top that, baby.
That was actually nice this week. I like that. I like Avraham.
So rock on. It's a trial by fire. We do the best we can. As long as you keep getting up, man. Think Rocky.
Sure,
Rocky.
yeah. Avraham, Avraham, it says that, he asked God one, it says that Avraham was, believed in astrology, reading the stars. I think I told this one quite a few times. I'll tell it again. Why not? I already saw it. Right? Tell it again. So he read his fortune, right? He read his fortune, and he said to the Lord, he prayed, how could this be? I read my fortune. I got the New York Times delivered, right? And I opened up to the comic section because that's where it belongs, your fortune. And I read, I'm not going to have a wife. I'm not going to have children. And I'll be a nobody. How could this be, Lord? How can I be a nobody, never have a wife, and never have children? Isn't it promised to me? I'm Avraham, right? So God reinsures him. God reinsures him. He says, not only will you be someone, I'll give you entire land of Israel's inheritance. Not only will you have a wife, but you have Sarah, the princess of the entire world, the most beautiful woman to ever live. Not only will you have a son, you have Isaac, and not only you be a father of a nation, but you be father of many nations. You have many children. Obviously, he had Ishmael, which became Muslims, and of course, Esau comes from Isaac. That comes to Christian. So he's not just the Jewish people, father of the Jewish people. Not only does he have a son, but he's the father of many nations. That's what I can do with you. I'll take you beyond the stars. As Hashem says, you're reading the stars. I'm taking you over the stars. I'm going to show you what's really happening. You think you're looking at it from your perspective down there on earth. Let me show you what's happening up here in heaven. And that's what Hebrew means. Hebrew means over. So you can take it literally. Avraham crossed over from Babylon to the land of Canaan. That's a literal meaning, Hebrew. But Hebrew, and in a sense, he went over the stars. He went over what was... He circumvented, like I opened the hangout with, he circumvented the system. Everyone has mazel. Everyone has a fortune. Everyone has a purpose and a destiny, but you can circumvent it. You can grab the keys and circumvent it. Go ahead, James. What were you going to say?
No, everything you just said. Yeah, there was a time prior to the flood when man could look up at the stars and see the gears turning of the universe and could make out the universe via what descended from the stars. We live under a different atmosphere. We live under a different world. That doesn't happen nowadays. It just doesn't happen. So I can sympathize with Avraham. He's looking to the stars. He's getting his, open up the comic section. This is what the astrology says. And God says, your descendants will be more than that. It's that, it's that you are more than that. That's the dignity of Judaism, in my opinion, is that the human being is dignified. Naturally dignified, and we descend ourselves into the ways of the world. And just I consult the stars. Well, your descendants will outnumber them.
Sure,
It'll be
right.
the same as
That's a good way of looking at it. I like that. Yeah, the psychology of it all. Yeah.
This is a great place to end. Always leaving wanting more. I want more, but the live portion ends. If you want to join in the discussion, Nilvah Nexus Facebook page, Nilvah Nexus Google Plus page, JamesLSmasher@yahoo.com. On behalf of Brookie, who's left us now, Hadassah, Yohanan, Gavriel, and Rosalie, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.